Mineral corticoids is we have aldosterone. The secretion of steroid hormones is released immediately, so the rate of release is determined by the rate of synthesis, especially the synthesis of pregnenolone. Now let's talk about the amine hormones. It is formed by altering the structure of amino acid, secreted by the thyroid gland, the adrenal medulla, hypothalamus, and pineal gland. Example of amine hormone structure is more like a bead of string, which is there's tyrosine, thyroxine, triiodothyronine, and reverse T3. So the synthesized from two amino acids amino hormones are the synthesized from two amino acids. Tyrosine, which is the catecholamines or noradrenaline and adrenaline, and tryptophan, which is the precursor of melatonin. Secretion of amine hormones is that the granules are released by exocytosis. Rate of release is regulated mainly by secretion. Now let's talk about the transport hormones. All hormones secreted from endocrine glands are transported in the blood. Steroid hormones and thyroid hormones are released lipid soluble and require a carrier protein to be transported in the blood in order to reach their target cell. Non-steroid hormones tend to be water soluble, and as such they dissolve in the blood plasma where they are transported to their target cells. Mechanism of hormone action. The mechanism involves in steroid and thyroid hormones, such as endocrine gland secretes a steroid hormone. For example, hormone enters target cells by diffusing through the cell membrane and enter the nucleus. The hormone then binds to the receptor molecule. The hormone's protein complex then binds to DNA and promotes the synthesis of mRNA. mRNA leaves the nucleus and enters the cytoplasm where it is translated to protein molecules. Mechanism involved in non-steroid hormone action are that the endocrine gland secretes a non-steroid hormone like insulin, for example. The hormone is carried to its target cell by the blood plasma. The hormone then binds to its receptor sites on the membrane of its target cell. The hormone receptors binds activate adenylate cyclase via a G protein. Then adenylate cyclase then cause ATP molecules to be converted into cyclic AMP molecules or CAMP. The CAMP then activates various protein kinases which phosphorylates various protein substrates. The activated protein substrates induce changes in metabolic processes. Cellular changes are recognized as the hormone response. Now let's go about the endocrine system, its metabolism and secretion. So in the metabolism, it is the process of converting fuel from foods into energy for the body to function. Hormones concentration in the plasma depends on its rate of secretion by the endocrine gland, its rates of removal from the blood either by excretion and metabolic transformation. The livers or kidney are the major organs that excrete or metabolize hormones. However, they are not the only routes for eliminating hormones. Sometimes the hormones is metabolized by the cell upon which it acts. In the metabolism of peptide hormones, in the case of peptide hormones, endocytosis of hormone receptor complexes on plasma membranes enables cells to remove the hormone rapidly from their surface and catabolize them intracellularly. The receptors are then often recycled to the plasma membrane. So number one is the process is like this. The hormone molecules binds to a receptor molecule in the target cell membrane. As a result, the receptors undergoes a change in structure that enables it to initiate a cascade of metabolic processes in the cytoplasm. The resulting second or trigger messenger molecules enter the nucleus and influence gene expression, or directly affect cellular processes such as the releasing hormone. So rate of metabolism, excretion of the different types of hormone, we have the catecholamine and peptide hormones are rapidly excreted are excreted rapidly or attacked by enzyme in the blood and tissue, thus tend to remain in the bloodstream for only brief periods. In contrast, because proteins-bound hormones are less vulnerable to excretion or metabolism by enzyme, removal of the circulating steroid and thyroid hormone generally takes longer. We have the categories of hormones. The types of we must first discuss the peptides and catecholamines. The peptides and catecholamines, its major form in plasma is free, while the location of receptor is the plasma membrane. Its signal transduction mechanism that the receptor alters channel intrinsic to the receptor's enzyme activity. Intrinsic to the receptor, enzymatic activity of cytoplasmic GAK kinases associated with the receptor. G protein in the plasma membrane, this control plasma membrane channel or enzyme that generates second messenger or CAMP, VAG, and IP3. Its rate of excretion metabolism is fast beneath 0 an hour. Now we have the types of steroid and thyroid hormones, which its major form in plasma is protein-bound. The location of its receptor is in the cell interior. Its signal transduction mechanism is that receptor directly alters gene transcription. Its rate of excretion metabolism is slow, between hours and 2 days. So, metabolism of hormones, we have in some cases metabolism of the hormones after its secretion activates rather than it inactivates. In other words, the secreted hormone may be relatively or completely unable to act upon a target cell until metabolism transforms it into a substance that can act. How does the endocrine system control metabolism? The thyroid gland directly affects metabolism as it is the portion of the endocrine system responsible for secreting hormone that controls the rate at which the body cell burns fuel for energy. You have the hypothalamus in the upper, then pituitary gland in the lower, in the head, then the hypothalamus in the pituitary in the brain controls the normal secretion of thyroid hormones, which in turn control metabolism. The thyroid hormone. Finally, there is another kind of activation that applies to a few hormones. Instead of the hormone itself being activated after secretion, it acts enzymatically on a completely different plasma protein to split off a peptide that functions as the active hormone. We have the summary of the processes of the metabolism and excretion of hormones. We have the endocrine cell, which is secrete hormone. Then when it secretes hormone, it goes with the plasma hormones. Then the following function is that the plasma hormones is either excreted and activated by metabolism, activated by metabolism, and catalyzed formation of active hormone from plasma protein. Now, when it is activated by metabolism, it responds to hormone. At the same time, the catalyzed formation of active hormone from plasma protein also responds to hormone. Now we're going to talk about the inputs that control hormone secretion. There are three main types of inputs. We have neurotransmitter, ion or nutrients, and hormones. That it goes to the endocrine cells, which alters the rate of hormone secretion. Okay, we have the control by plasma concentration of ions or nutrients, which the plasma concentration of specific mineral ions or organic nutrients directly control multiple hormone secretion. Major function is to regulate through negative feedbacks or the carbohydrates or the Ca2 plus homeostasis and glucose. So the Ca2 homeostasis is the calcitonin. First, let's go with the homeostasis between the blood calcium level, about 10 milligrams per 100 ml. If it goes that, first it must goes to stimulus rising blood level, the Ca2 level. Then it goes to the thyroid gland releasing calcitonin. Then the calcitonin stimulates Ca2 deposition in bones and reduces the Ca2 uptake in kidneys. Which after that, the blood calcium level declines to set point again and goes to homeostasis. In the opposite direction naman, we have the stimulus falling blood calcium levels, it goes to the parathyroid gland, which secretes parathyroid hormone, which it stimulates the calcium release from bones and stimulates the CAT uptake in kidneys. After the stimulates CA2 uptakes in kidneys, it goes to active vitamin B, which increases the CA2 uptake in intestine. After these kidneys in bones and this intestine, it goes back to the blood calcium level, rises to set point, and goes to the homeostasis. That's the function of it. Now, in the glucose, the process of the glucose, first, let's start with the pancreas. The pancreas releases the glucagon and insulin. Then, glucagon stimulates breakdown of glycogen, while insulin stimulates formation of glycogen. It goes to the liver. Both of them goes to the liver, which the process of the glycogen in glucose. Then it raises blood sugar. Then high blood sugar promotes insulin release again. But if we go to the pancreas, if we go to the insulin pathway, there are two pathways in the insulin. We go into the alternative pathway of insulin, which is stimulate glucose uptake from blood to the tissue cells or the muscle, kidney, and fats. Then it lowers the blood sugar. Then low blood sugar promotes glucagon releases. Then it's just like that. Now let's go for the control by neurotransmitter. We have the autonomic nervous system, which it has the adrenal medulla, which it is hormone epinephrine. We have autonomic ganglion, which is positive or negative. It is the endocrine gland cell, the hormone. We have the hypothalamus, which is the hormone to positive, negative, anterior pituitary hormone. Then we have the posterior pituitary, which it has the hormones of autonomy. Now let's talk about the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system includes the endocrine gland. Parasympathetic and sympathetic inputs to gland may occur, some of which are inhibitory and others stimulatory. The autonomic nervous system, we have the parasympathetic, which is the eyes. We have the medulla oblongata, which is part of the brainstem in the ganglion, which stimulates of saliva. We have the vagus nerves, which controls the slow heartbeat, constricts bronchi, stimulates peristalsis and secretion, and we have stimulates the release of bile. And in the bottom, then we going on the other types of chain of sympathetic ganglia. The top of the chain of sympathetic ganglia, we have the sympathetic, which is dilate, which its control is to dilate the pupils. We have also inhibits the flow of saliva. There's also the accelerate of heartbeat and dilates the bronchi. In the solar plexus naman, in the middle of the chain of sympathetic ganglia, we have its function is to inhibit the peristalsis and secretion, while it conversion of glycogen to glucose. It also functions as a secretion of adrenaline and noradrenaline. And same thing in the bottom of the chain of sympathetic ganglia, it inhibits the bladder contraction. And the bottom of the autonomic nervous system contracts the bladder. Now we have to control by other hormones. So tropic hormones. What is tropic hormone? Tropic hormone stimulates secretion of another hormones. It stimulates the growth of the gland. Some hormones in a multi-hormone sequence inhibits the secretion of other hormones. For example of tropic hormone, which is the antidiuretic hormone, its location of secretion is in the pituitary gland in the brain, which it affects the water balance in the kidney. The hormone in the thyroid stimulate. Now we have the thyroid stimulating hormone, which its location of secretion is in the pituitary gland in the brain. Which it affects is that it stimulates the thyroid gland to produce hormone thyroxine. What are the disorders? The disorders, so hyposecretion, let's talk about the hyposecretion. Primarily, hyposecretion is too little hormone secretion by the endocrine gland, which its secondary hyposecretion is that endocrine gland receives too little of its trophic hormone.